Hello, Amy White with Worthy Written Words. Today we're in our wide margin Doctrine and Covenants in section 124 verses 91 and 92. The first things I'm going to do are put some of these big stickers where I want them to go, and they're just big and easy, and so I'm putting this first one in the upper left hand corner and cutting off any that hangs over. I want it to hang off so that it merges with the page. The next one I'm going to put down here in my footnotes, and I'm going to put it so that it's all the way closest to the binding of the book so that you can see it with the envelope next to it. And again, I'm going to cut anything that's hanging off. Now, using this piece of cardstock, you can see if you look closely that there's little lines where you're supposed to bend it or fold it. And I'm going to use this bone folder to make the bending that I do nice and crisp. So you hold the bone folder on the side and you push down and run it along, and it just gives it a really, really nice sharp bend to the paper. And you're going to want this to be able to fold over it. So like mine is a little bit short, so I'm just going to fix that real quick by putting it where it needs to go and then going back over it again. And we are going to have this bottom part go backwards. You would think naturally it would go up the other way, but we're not going to use this to be the bottom part of the envelope. We're going to use this flap right here to attach it to our page. So you can see that when we put it on our page, it can flap up and down with that. So I'm going to do the top part of this envelope here, and then we're going to heat up our glue gun because we're going to be adding some ribbon to the front to make this look like a present. So first, cut off some ribbon that is long enough to fit the front flap, and then you're going to need a smaller piece that's going to go on the top of the flap, and then whatever you have left is going to be turned into a bow. Now I am playing around with this bow while I'm waiting for the hot glue to heat up. So as I'm tying this into a regular bow, I am trying to make it so that the velvet is on both sides, and so I had to do a little bit of manipulation so that it wasn't showing the back side. So, and then I am pulling it so that the top of the ribbon is small enough, and then I'm going to cut off any extra hanging off at the bottom. And then if you want to prevent this from fraying everywhere, you can also, after you cut the bottoms to the length that you want, you can put a little bit of hot glue at the base of the bow to keep it from fraying. Now, rather than putting the hot glue on the ribbon itself, I am going to just put a line of hot glue down the front of this cardstock, and then I'm going to put the ribbon on top of that. And be careful not to squish out too much glue because you don't want it going out the sides of the ribbon. And I got kind of sloppy with this, and it got really messy as I was working with this bow, but mainly just because I was just using too much glue. So be cautious about how much glue you're pumping out. And then I'm going to tuck it in the top and the bottom on the inside with some hot glue just to keep that from fraying. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with this little part up at the top of the flap. I'm going to put some glue on the back side, and then I'm also going to put it so that it is wrapping around the bottom and to the inside so that it has a cleaner edge and it won't fray over time. Now I go to put this bow on the top, and I put way too much glue down to where it busts out the edges. So make sure that you're using the right amount of glue. So you can see that here that I'm just going to try and clean that up so it's not as noticeable, but it turned into a little bit of a mess. So just take my advice and go a little bit easy on the glue. Now I'm going to hot glue these ribbons so that they are pointing away and they're not sticking out completely horizontally. So I'm just putting a little dab of glue on this flap and then putting that down, and then I'm going to cut off all of this excess ribbon that's hanging down. Now we're going to add some craft tape to seal this envelope. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some craft tape along the back panel that you see sticking out right here. And none of this is going to be seen because it's going to be on the back side of this envelope. So we're going to put some there, and then we're going to also put some along the bottom of the inside of the envelope to seal it closed at the bottom so that what we put inside doesn't just fall right out, because we're not using that bottom flap to seal the envelope. We're going to actually put some more craft tape on that bottom flap as well. And this is so that we can attach this to our page itself. So after we have the craft tape on, we're going to remove the back sides of the craft tape, and then we're going to close this envelope so that it will seal itself together and become an actual envelope. And then we're going to attach it to our book by this bottom flap. And ignore that I have my personal scripture on there already. I ended up having to take it off because I didn't space it correctly. So follow the steps that I'm doing to prevent that from happening to you. So now I'm flipping it down, and I'm going to put this quote on my page, and I'm going to put it all the way down at the bottom. It's clear so you can see through it, but I don't want to be able to see it when I close the envelope. So I'm making sure that I kind of tested it out first, that when I put it on, when you shut the envelope, you won't be able to see the quote sticking out. Now I'm taking my own patriarchal blessing, and I am cutting off the margins and folding it in such a way so that it will fit inside of this envelope. So if you need to go back and watch that again to see how to make yours fit in the envelope, you can do that. And now I'm going to add the My Personal Scripture to the footnotes now that I have a better understanding of what my spacing is. So I'm going to put the My Personal, and then the scripture will be underneath it and to the right. Now I'm going to take this tab label and stick it on my tab, and then I'm going to attach this tab to the top of my page using some AdTech micro dots. You could use a glue stick, whatever you have on hand. You could use some more craft tape if you have some of that. So I'm just using some of this to get it to stick to my page, and then I'm going to put some washi tape on top to not only add a little decorative bit, but also to help secure that on my page as well. Then there's a few more poppy stickers that I want to put on the page. I'm going to put one just at the bottom of my quote there, and I'm going to put one at the top of my page just because I have them and they're cute, and it adds just a little bit more to the page. Now the last step, I'm going to use a red glaze pen. You could use any sort of red colored pencil, marking utensil, just check to make sure that it doesn't bleed through to the other side. And I'm going to highlight my favorite parts in verses 91 and 92 that go along with this page. And then we're going to be done. I hope that you guys had fun learning how to add an envelope to your page that will flap open and hold additional information if you want it for the future. And I hope that you guys have taken this opportunity to reread your patriarchal blessings, since we should be reading that probably more often than we already do. Be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of our latest videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.